What went wrong with Deion Sanders' roster at Colorado? They took a bunch of big names. By the time the calendar turns toward the final 2 weeks of the regular season, the reality surrounding Deion Sanders' Colorado Buffaloes can no longer be sugar-coated or spun with optimism. What was supposed to be a bold step forward in Sanders' third year in Boulder has unraveled into a season defined by regression, inconsistency, and hard-to-ignore foundational flaws. At 3-7 overall and 1-6 in Big 12 play, Colorado has positioned itself among the worst Power 4 teams in the country. A stunning development for a program that entered the season believing it was building toward long-term contention. The numbers are blunt. The Buffaloes rank 108th nationally in scoring offense, 107th in scoring defense, 107th in yards per play, and 108th in yards per play allowed. In nearly every meaningful metric, Colorado is operating near the bottom of the sport. The drop-off has been far more dramatic than expected, especially after a 9-4 breakthrough season in 2024 that suggested Sanders had finally found his footing. Instead, this has become a year of uncomfortable truths. College rosters are a blank canvas. You don't have to wait years to rebuild. One Big 12 assistant coach told The Athletic. He's had plenty enough time to build a program. It was a candid assessment, sharp, unfiltered, and reflective of a growing sentiment around the conference. Colorado should be further along by now. To fully understand how the Buffaloes reached this point, The Athletic spoke with coaches, personnel evaluators, and Big 12 decision-makers, all anonymously, to break down what went wrong inside Sanders' roster construction, coaching infrastructure, and player development pipeline. Replacing stars is hard. Replacing Travis Hunter is impossible. Some regression was inevitable after Colorado lost its 3 most irreplaceable weapons: Travis Hunter, Shedeur Sanders, and Day 3 receivers LaJohntay Wester and Jimmy Horn Jr. Hunter's presence alone was worth several wins. A two-way force who changed games on offense and defense. Shedeur carried the offense behind a shaky offensive line, and Wester and Horn were reliable volume players who helped keep the unit moving. But the departures exposed something deeper than roster turnover. They exposed the fragility of Colorado's structure. As expected, Sanders hit the transfer portal aggressively, as he does every offseason, adding 33 new faces. The class included names that brought excitement to the fanbase. QB Deion Sanders, Liberty. DL Jiheim Otis, Alabama. DL Gabriel Lightfoot, Fresno State. WR Sincere Brown, Campbell. WR Hakeem Williams, Florida State. WR Joseph Williams, Tulsa, along with transfers from Auburn, Texas A&M, Oklahoma, Tennessee, and Ole Miss. The expectation was that the Buffaloes had infused the roster with Power 4 caliber talent. But optimism and production rarely align. If you look at a lot of the guys they brought in, there wasn't much production, a Big 12 general manager said. They took a bunch of big-name, big-star guys with the expectation they'd make big jumps, and they just didn't. Another staffer was even more blunt. If a player can't develop at a place like Alabama or Georgia, where they have every resource, why would they come here and be better? The Deion Sanders experiment crashes early. Few transfers sparked more excitement than Deion Sanders, the dual-threat quarterback who lit up the 2023 season at Liberty with 2,876 passing yards, 1,089 rushing yards, and 44 total touchdowns. Even after a statistical dip in 2024, he remained a coveted portal name. On paper, Salter was the perfect bridge between Shedeur Sanders and freshman phenom Julian Lewis, who was expected to take over in 2026. But Salter was never a clean schematic fit for Colorado's pro-style offense under coordinator Pat Shurmur. When that kid was good at Liberty, they were running the hell out of him, the Big 12 GM noted. Now he's in a pocket passer system. It doesn't fit. And it didn't. Salter was benched after just 2 games. He regained the job for 1 week, then lost it again. His 2025 numbers, 1,242 passing yards, 10 TDs, 6 interceptions, and 293 rushing yards, are serviceable, but nowhere near the dynamic production Colorado expected. His 3.3 yards per carry, a career low, reflect both his own struggles and a collapsing offensive line. The low point came in consecutive blowouts. 53-7 loss at Utah, outgained 398 to -18 in the first half. 52-17 loss to Arizona at home. These weren't just losses. They were alarming indicators that the Buffaloes were regressing to the dark days of the Carl Durrell era, something Sanders was hired to eradicate. A transfer-heavy experiment finally backfires. For all the attention on Sanders' charisma, motivation, and media presence, his roster-building philosophy has always been unconventional. He signs small high school classes, the smallest in the Big 12, and relies heavily on transfers to plug immediate holes. Across 2 full recruiting cycles, Sanders signed just 27 high school players, 12 in 2024, 15 in 2025. His 2026 class currently has only 12 commitments, with no top 200 players. This strategy is a double-edged sword. When transfers hit, Colorado can rapidly improve, as they did in 2024. But when they miss, as they have this season, the roster lacks developmental depth. Transfers usually aren't there long. One personnel staffer said, "They're trying to get in and get out. If you don't recruit high school kids, you don't build a mature roster." Sanders' selective pursuit of high-level recruits is also risky. Each cycle, he focuses recruiting energy on one splash prospect. Julian Lewis, 2025. Jordan Seaton, 2024. Cormani McClain, 2023. Later transferred to Florida. These high-profile hits generate headlines but don't balance the depth chart. Colorado still lacks offensive line talent, front seven size, and developmental players ready to step into roles after veterans depart. A roster with stars at the edges but none in the trenches. As several Big 12 staffers noted, the roster reflects a top-heavy structure. Wide receivers, talented. Defensive backs, athletic and long. Trench play, still bottom tier in the conference. One assistant coach summarized it perfectly. College football isn't built on first-round guys. It's built on day 3 guys. The 5th dash, 6th dash, 7th round players who make your roster competitive. You can't have a 5-star with a bunch of minions. Colorado hasn't built from the inside out. They've tried to build from the outside in. And this season has shown that approach is unsustainable. The snowball effect, losing early, losing often. Colorado opened the season poorly and never recovered. Confidence slipped. Leadership wavered. Transfers who were brought in to play immediately struggled to adjust. And the snowball effect began. They just never had guys who'd been there before, a Big 12 GM said. They hadn't really done that, built success, so when things went wrong, they kept going wrong. The Buffaloes showed more fight in their 29-22 road loss to West Virginia, but the defeat sealed Sanders' second losing season in 3 years. Now the Buffaloes enter the final stretch, home versus Arizona State, then at Kansas State with nothing tangible to play for but pride. And with a roster built for the short term, questions linger. Will Colorado's transfers stay engaged? Will young players seize the moment? Will Sanders adjust his blueprint for year 4? Where Colorado goes from here, the verdict among Big 12 insiders is clear. Sanders must rethink his approach. His staff includes several former NFL stars, players with deep football knowledge but limited college coaching experience. His recruiting model is splash-heavy but depth-light. His roster-building strategy leans too hard on the portal, and his schematic fits have been inconsistent. You think you're going to show up and finesse college football, one coach said. But college football has a lot more variables. You have to hit on all cylinders. Deion Sanders remains one of the sport's most captivating figures. Magnetic, fearless, and unapologetic. But charisma alone cannot win in a conference built on depth, trenches, and continuity. And with 2025 looming, his next moves will determine whether Colorado rebounds into relevance or remains stuck in a cycle of reset and rebuild. This year will be remembered as a step backward. What comes next will define whether it's a temporary stumble or the beginning of a troubling pattern.